Today we're at the Floyd Farmers Market here in Floyd, Virginia. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go talk to a bunch of different farmers and vendors who sell at the market and just ask them about the benefits of buying locally at like a farmer's market, some of the different things they do to keep their food healthy. Also talk about common misconceptions that people might have about purchasing local healthy food. So let's go talk to some people and learn some new things. So we are here with Sarah from Weathertop Farms. They are out of Czech, Virginia. What are the main things that you guys do at Weathertop?
Sure, yeah, we've got a bunch of hogs. So we have some sows and we raise the pigs. We do a lot of chickens, meat chickens in season.
Okay.
We do laying hens year round, so we have a lot of eggs. We do turkeys for Thanksgiving. We do ducks once or twice a year. And we have sheep, so we sell lamb.
Gotcha. Cool, cool. So what are some of the ways that you raise and feed and take care of your animals that are different than how they do that with traditional meat that people are just going to pick off the shelves at a grocery store?
Yeah, the main difference for our farm is that we pasture raise everything, so we're managing for that all the time. So we have everything out on grass as long as possible, and we really manage it pretty intensively. So we are rotating pretty much every day. Everything gets moved. The sheep get moved every day. The hogs get moved twice a week.
Awesome.
So everything is eating grass.
Yeah.
Like the sheep are 100% grass fed.
That's awesome.
They're not getting
And I guess for people maybe watching who don't know off the top of their head all the benefits of rotational farming like you're doing, could you just kind of tell people why it is beneficial to rotate your animals?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, it's super healthy for the animals. The more nutrition they can get off the grass, the better. Also, it's best management for like manure and stuff.
Right.
So you're spreading it and you're getting them off it so they're moving on. It's also super important for the soil.
Right.
It helps build soil. And when you move on and give it a break, it gives a chance for the grass to regrow and the soil to regenerate itself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of healing every step of the way. You're healing the earth, making healthy animals, so then by the time someone actually eats it, you're getting the healthiest,
That's what we
return
are
on.
aiming for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was great. And if you're ever near Floyd or Czech, Virginia, be sure to stop by the Weathertop table, and she'll take care of you. Okay, so we're here at the Itau Acres stand at the Floyd Farmers Market with Maya Scopel. And what she does, actually her and her husband Ed, make all these different, essentially I guess what would you say, like herbal remedies, tinctures, things like that, for pretty much everything you could imagine. And we at the TEDS Foundation are always using her stuff for all kinds of issues, ailments, pains, cuts, bruises. So I guess the first thing that might be kind of interesting is how did you get into like making this type of stuff?
Well, my mom used herbs when we grew up and then kind of went away from that. And when we moved here to Floyd, our neighbor showed us all kinds of things already growing on our land that we could eat and told us what they were for. And then when he moved, he left us a stack of pots, and we started growing medicinal herbs and started at the farmer's market selling the overflow of medicinal herb plants. And then slowly we just started making plant medicine out of them, following a guidebook called Making Plant Medicine. And we just, every year we've added on and added on to our product list. So we make stuff for what our family needs. We make products for what the people ask for what the current conditions are. And, we have stuff for the coronavirus. We have for Lyme's disease. We've got a salve for virtually every external condition.
Awesome.
That's all our kids have used ever.
Cool. Yeah, because I've actually been to your place, and one of the things that I think is really unique about what you guys do is you use a lot of wild and indigenous plants for what you do, right? And I know especially Ed, I think is like super genius at, because we've had him when you guys have come to the farm, like kind of tell us all these healing plants that you wouldn't even think twice about usually.
Exactly.
What would you say? What would you say are some of the top sellers that people buy? Like issues that they have?
Definitely the Lyme support, the detox, which you can take with or without the Lyme support, the immune booster blend, all of the salves, the aches and pain salve for aches, pains, injuries, the chickweed salve for rash, eczema, bug bites, really all of them.
Yeah, I know we use the poison ivy.
The poison
a
ivy,
lot.
yep.
And I don't actually know if you remember, probably right about a year ago. Do you remember when I came here with like a busted lip?
Uh-huh.
I had just busted my lip open doing jiu-jitsu, and literally the first place I went was here to get some salve to heal it. And the next day it was closed. The next day, so it definitely works. Is there any like misconceptions you think people need to be aware of when looking for their own tinctures?
Well, yes, certainly not all tinctures are created the same. We pride ourselves on the fact that we grow or wild harvest virtually all of our herbs at their medicinal peak. So when you buy a dried herb, it's not to say it's not good or it's not potent, but you don't know that they harvested at any medicinal peak.
Yeah.
You don't know that much about it. So what we try to do is harvest everything at its medicinal peak, make the tincture immediately. If it has to be dried first to relieve certain constituents, we dry it and then immediately make the tincture. So it's at its freshest, most potent state. And then the tinctures go into your bloodstream quickly. So it's a very effective method of healing. But I think that's probably, one of the things to look for in a tincture is how are they made?
Right.
And of course, if you make them at home, it's fine to do it, whatever way. You can always take more, but as someone who sells it to the public, we want our tinctures to be very potent.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. It was fascinating. If you're ever in the Floyd, Virginia area, be sure to stop by here on Saturday mornings. We're here at the Eco Village Farm stand with Adam from the Eco Village Farm, and as you can see, he has a pretty awesome produce selection. Anytime that we need to buy produce that doesn't come from our own garden, we usually always get it from his stand. So Adam, I guess first, can you kind of tell us a little bit of a rundown as kind of some of the stuff that you guys grow?
Sure.
Just give an idea of what you all do.
Yep. So I manage the farm out at the Floyd Eco Village. I've been growing in Floyd for 7 or 8 years and 15 years of growing produce full time, and we focus on growing anything that's seasonal in Virginia. And then with the help of some unheated greenhouses, we try to push the season, and we're not really growing things, I'd say, out of season, but just kind of extending it as much as we can. We're known for growing lettuces, and we've already had frost. We still have tomatoes. Really, just shooting to do anything that could be grown in Virginia.
Awesome. And can you kind of give people an idea of some of the ways and methods you guys grow, opposed to conventional produce that people are just going to buy at the store?
Yeah.
Like obviously, I know one of the big differences must be the lack of spraying. Right, it's obviously a huge difference. Can you kind of talk about how you guys grow?
Yeah. So the farms that I began working on were all certified organic farms, and we are not certified organic, but we do only use certified organic inputs. That is kind of a tricky thing because there are a lot of what I'd call conventionally set up organic farms where they're still on spray regimens or maybe changing what they're applying, but still sort of following the same ideas as a large conventional farm. So instead, what we do is we start with taking soil samples, and then we look at those soil samples and we try to focus on remineralizing a lot of the trace elements that have been missing in our food, and then a lot of proactive when it comes to like insect pressure. We try to be just as proactive as possible. So instead of being reactive, like we see a problem and now we've got to go out and spray, just being really observant and trying to stay on top of what we see going on. That's the best methods that we can find. So organic farm, we still do spray. We don't spray anything. We don't spray anything that's not certified organic. We're also really mindful about the spraying. We actually rarely spray.
And and I guess that's an interesting point that you bring up is at farmers markets, there might be a lot of farms that aren't certified organic, but might even be cleaner than big certified organic farms.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's why you have to know how to ask the right questions. Because you might be getting cleaner stuff, it just doesn't have the label on it.
Right, and it can also go the other way. So I used to been, next to an incredibly awesome farmer, and people would ask him, oh, do you spray? And he's like, well, I didn't spray my Napa cabbage, but instead he used systemic pesticides that you feed through the drip system and go into the plant itself. So it's like, knowing the questions to ask. Not every vendor at a market is growing their own stuff, and not every vendor is growing organically, and so it's tricky to know the questions to ask.
Yeah, so I guess kind of on that note, to wrap up, are there any like major misconceptions you would tell people to be aware of when shopping around at a farmer's market? Like,
I'd say the biggest one is thinking that everyone is growing clean, organic food, and that everyone's actually growing what they sell.
Got
Every market has different rules, and so unless you look at the handbook and say, oh, this market you're supposed to be a producer only, you just don't know. So, and most farmers are going to want to engage in a conversation with you. So I think establishing that relationship is probably your best bet.
Awesome. Well, Adam, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's perfect. Yeah. So delicious. We are here with one of my favorite people ever, Adrienne White from Big Indian Farm. Adrienne is, I'll let her tell you a little bit about it, but she's a master baker of sweet goods and savory goods. She sells here at the Floyd Farmers Market. So, Adrienne, thank you for taking a couple minutes to talk to us. And could you just tell us a little bit about some of the things you bake and sell?
Sure, we specialize in sourdough bread and pastry, and so we do a big line of sourdough breads, and including like enriched breads like hamburger buns.
Yep, very good.
Cinnamon swirl bread.
Very good.
Challah.
Very good.
And then we do croissant pastry, Danish, scones, cookies, cinnamon rolls. Big assortment.
Making us all hungry.
Yeah, and we try to use we use all 100% organic grains in our products, and almost everything is either sourdough or sprouted.
So
digestibility.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, so for the people who don't know, what is the benefit to sourdough or sprouted grains?
So it breaks down the phytic acid in the grain and makes the nutrients in the grain more readily available and a lot easier to digest.
So your body doesn't have to work as hard.
Right, it's kind of pre-digested a little bit.
Gotcha. Perfect. And you've only you haven't been like baking like this your whole life. It's kind of newer, hasn't it?
We're in our third year.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you have any of her stuff, you assume she's been like baking
Yeah,
forever.
I get obsessed with things.
Yeah.
I've always been really into fermenting and food and home baking.
Awesome.
But, this is baking full time like this.
Nice.
It's been the last 3.5 years.
So if people are going around, say maybe to their local farmers markets or co-ops or whatever, is there any like misconceptions or maybe red flags that you think people need to be aware of when shopping around for healthier versions of their favorite baked goods?
Well, I would say with sourdough, you want to be careful not to get something that has, commonly, especially in this area, might have sourdough flavor or sourdough.
Gotcha.
Like if you want a truly authentic, like long fermented.
And is that pretty common? Sourdough
it is,
flavor?
You do see that, yeah.
Okay.
Or there's some people do like the potato sourdough.
Which isn't the same.
Not the same.
Right.
Yeah. So for a real like long fermented bread, definitely want and look for organic when you're buying grains, because they really put a lot of pesticides on the grains. And then I think a lot of people think that they're sensitive to gluten, but often it's just not prepared properly or it has the chemical sensitivities.
Yeah, that's interesting because we were just talking about it this morning. Naturally in the fall, the human body actually produces an enzyme specifically to break down gluten. So that's kind of like an indicator that the body actually is designed to break down gluten, like you said. But like you said, it's just how is it prepared
For the winter, getting
exactly.
ready for winter.
Yeah, so this is the time of year to
Soup
start.
and bread.
Yeah, start eating all your,
Starches.
carving up, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Really appreciate it, and we'll go back to eating our cookies now.
Nice. All right, thanks.